Here the corners finally finished out. So that's a tiny little patch. It's gone in that corner there. When I do the bodywork over the top, I'll clean all that up so you won't even be able to see that. And of course this other side. And that's gone in pretty nicely as well. So still more bodywork to do on there, but at least the corners are in. I've put rust converter on the insides of this and cleaned all that up on both sides. So now I'll flip this hood over and work on the other side. So there it is, that nose panel has finally been spot welded in place. There's a reinforcement plate right behind where I've just spot welded here. So now I've got to basically run across the ends here, or between the hood and the panel that I've made, and go all the way along. This is nice solid metal here, so I don't have to worry about warping this part, but I've still got to be careful of the overheating the skin on the other side. And then I'll put that skin across the front of it here. So that's the nose panel in place. Just got to get a flat disc on these welds and flatten all that out. And that's how it started off. This rusty old thing here. Okay, so next stage on the hood. Nose panel's in. Now I've got this front skin that I've got to put on here, and I've got to mark out the centre where I'm going to put the bend in the skin. Obviously it comes around like so, and then put holes, a series of holes in here where I'm going to put plug welds so I can actually weld this to the nose panel that I've made, and then weld it very slowly to the end of the hood here. It's very thin steel there, so I've got to use really low heat and not burn it. And then clean it all up and make it so it looks so that you just can't tell that it's been put on. So I've got to get some clamps to squeeze that down as far as I can. But right now I've got to bend this out. This is pointing in just a little bit too far here, so I've got to bend this nose panel out a bit more so that it sits flush with the new hood skin. So here then's the skin. It's got the holes all drilled out through it. I've got the slots in here with the studs from the front chrome mould go through. So that is now ready to go on the front of the hood here. Okay, so what I've had to do is put the hood back on the car, because before I put the skin on the front part here permanently, it's got to line up with these pieces here on the fender. So here's the bit that's taken quite a while. I've got to line up this hood with the guard. I've spent probably about the last hour doing so, and you can see the hood's sitting slightly up from the fender. Now these fenders do have shims under them to bring them up, so I haven't got any of the shims in. So this is as far down as the back of the hood will go on both sides. The gap's pretty even all the way down, even though it was never perfect from factory. All I wanted to do is I want to line up the edges of the hood here. As you can see, I've got to get the front of the hood here lined up with the very front edge of this fender, because I'm trying to line up the skin that I'm about to put on with the front skin of the fender here, so it's all flush all the way through. So really got to get that right. Otherwise you do it all and then you put it all together and nothing lines up and you've just wasted days. So everything's on there. I've got things neatly done up, like the radiator support panel, the fenders, the wheel covers are all back in there, and it's all just to line up this hood. So the spot welds are mostly in place. This the skin I've made is flush with the skin of the hood, which is exactly what I wanted. So I've just left enough room to get some welding wire in there. Now this is going to be the tricky part. Not so much the joining up of the welds, but when I go to grind, I've got to be real careful, obviously not to grind on the hood. And at the end of the day, it's got to look like this piece here had always belonged with this hood, so that's the aim. So finally, that lip is all welded in its spot. I've ground it down as far as I dared to go before touching the skin of the hood, and then I've used a flat disc to knock down the weld as far as possible. Now comes the long part, which is sanding the rest now by hand. This isn't actually a point here, it's a soft edge, so I've got to put that back in. So I'm just going to run some tape across the face of it here, and then block sand across this way and give myself a nice soft edge across here, and then come and hit this sanding by hand as well over this part as well. So but that has finally gone in. That was a huge part of the job. Would have been much easier just to go and buy a hood somewhere, but being in South Australia, there aren't very many Chevy wreckers or classic Chevy wreckers around here to get this sort of stuff. So it's all repair what I can repair. So what I'm doing now is I've just run my tape across the front lip of the hood, and I've got some 60 grit paper here, and I'm just block sanding this edge to the tape line, because what I'm trying to do is to get a nice neat line all the way across the hood. It's like I said, it's not a pointy edge, it's a soft edge, so but this will give me a guideline as to get that done properly. Okay, so it's getting there. This is going to need obviously some body filler across the lip here. It was unavoidable just getting a bit of warpage in the lip there. I went as slow as I could with the spot welding this piece onto this piece. Cooled each spot weld as I went, but it's just such thin metal, it's inevitable. So anyway, a bit of body filler across there, so that'll all be flush. So just covered in cheap primer for now while it waits before I take the whole thing back off and put paint stripper on the top side here, get all that paint off, back to bare metal, and then prime the whole thing.